1. Man worshipped his gods under the overarching tree of the sky, encompassed by shadows on every side, wielding only his own noble, indomitable will, and possessing only his desire to survive. 2. In blood and fire, by the black pall of night, he called out to the infinitude of the stars, reaching out toward the vastness of space and time. Already his mother and father had gone on before into that great and eternal mystery, and he had wrapped them in their earthly shrouds, their burial cloaks, and then he had consigned them to the flames. 3. Man created God as much as God created man, infused him he did with life, imbued him with power, invested him with prestige, spilled blood for him, made war for him, propitiated the vast hunger of the gods with sacrifices of animals, burnt offerings slaughtered on altars of steel and stone. 4. Man created the gods to be most like himself. In a rapture of self-projection, he reflected his own vices and valor, his foibles and failures, his vast struggle and his triumph, and his final defeat. The gods would go down, such as man himself, into a miasmic abyss, a twilight wherein all would be engulfed by the final conflagration, the eclipse of all matter and life, energy and time, devoured by an all-consuming fire, and then an eon of icy waste. Or, perhaps, nothing. 5. So is the cycle of time, the never-ending karmic wheel which revolves eternally on an axis beyond the reach of conventional, calculated time, eternally returning to the self-same spot. It is both of time and yet outside of it. 6. All of life is a brief flickering in the firmament. It flares like the head of a match, burns white and hot for a second or two, and at a blowing of the wind succumbs to its own weakness, its own inevitable decline. Swimming the river of time, man is always pushed back, fighting the current, washed to and fro by the ebb and flow. The days, the years, the hours come ticking by in the vast black of his own subconscious and conscious musings. Where shall he go? What shall he do? Wherein lies the one unalterable truth that crieth out against the encroaching void? All around him, shadows and dumb show-mummery mock his fear of the one unavoidable future event of his short, vicious lot, the coming death. All of man's conceits and decisions, his passing fancies, plans, and preoccupations, are simply a way to forestall the doom he cannot conceive of as belonging to him. 8. Man wonders at the cruelty of God, lashing out against this exalted mirror image of himself. He creates adversaries, devils, satans, conspiracists against his own devices. His shadow self beckons to him from dreams, half-remembered nightmares, in the grip of his own insurmountable fear of the final bitter end. 9. All deaths are necessarily terrible. Life never ends. The countenance will fade as the body decays, but ultimately we suspect that consciousness continues. Freed finally of earthly demands, it will no longer be the prisoner of its own conceits, but enter a new, more childlike state. Or so we imagine. Manifest on that other side, spirit walks along the misty veil in a world partly shadow, partly long-suffering memory, looking out from behind the cloak of consciousness, unencumbered by the physical form, but lost, as it were, in the middle area between our world of suffering and the world that is to come. They amble through shadowed spaces, peering through eyes that cannot penetrate the encompassing pitch, the corpusculum of dreams half-remembered, begging, they may be, for another chance of life. 11. And so they, too, walk the wheel of eternal return. Part 2. 1. All men are both shadow and light as much as they are water and inert matter. The human body is mostly a liquid, expunged of solid matter, and atom is mostly, we are given to understand, empty space. If one could shrink down all the matter in an atom, one would have as a remainder the space allotted one of the great cathedrals. 2. Only the consciousness of man animates the whole, invites the possibility of change, of transformative, experiential growth and development. We must here ask, are some men born beggars and thieves, and some men born noble, chaste, pure, endowed with the talent and creativity, the spark of resourcefulness, and the atomic nuclei of gross material strength, all the better to survive and propagate their own substance? Might as well ask if some men are born lions and some born lambs, or wolves, or spotted toads. All of these types are found in nature. Is it not conceivable they might all be encompassed in the developing psychology of man, who fashions for himself a god, an external source of power, a convenient yet conveniently bloodthirsty controller of the wind and rain, an external deity to guide and chastise, to punish, benefit, bless, and reprove? How much more tenditious is it, then, that this self-same being cannot conceive of himself encompassing the virtues of an ape, a sloth, the cunning of a leopard or wolf, the resourcefulness of dung beetle, scarab, or carpenter ant? He can. He fancies himself, sprung though he is from the yawning, cawing womb of a gross physical earth mother, the divine coil of a god, the son of a god, as it were, a creature with divine potential, a heavenly step upward from gross physical matter toward the yawning gates of a paradise that is yet to be realized. This paradisical Elysium he may have on earth, at a bloody, protracted price, as God, in his vast, schizophrenic way, has allotted to each portion of the human species a different and often contrary revelation, a blueprint of the kingdom come, wherein man will strive, one from the other, to divest himself of his neighbor's petty concerns, free himself from the bondage of his own spiritual and psychological sloth and folly, unchain his being from ignoble vices, and move finally to the next great shift in conscious awareness.